In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro urged the Attorney General's office to investigate the far-right destabilizing plans for the presidential elections. In Iran, Masoud Pezeshkian was elected president after defeating Saeed Jalili in Friday's runoff elections. Palestine Israeli occupation forces killed at least 29 civilians in 3 massacres during the last 24 hours in Gaza. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSur studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro urged the Attorney General's office to investigate a video released by Colombian paramilitary groups in which they claim that the far-right contacted them to promote destabilizing plans for the presidential elections. The national president received news about an accusation made by a Colombian armed group where they claimed that they were contacted by the Venezuelan far-right to carry out a plan to destabilize the government of President Nicolás Maduro on the day of the presidential elections. The video details that the Venezuelan far-right was seeking to attack the border areas with the support of paramilitary groups after attacking the country's electricity system.
Me lo mandan de Colombia.
They send it to me from Colombia. He says they denounce this is a paramilitary group there. Colombia is looking for peace now with President Petro.
Colombia está buscando la paz con el presidente Petro, con grupos armados de izquierda,
with armed groups of the left, with armed groups of the right. This is a group of the right, paramilitary, and they denounce that they were contacted by people of the Venezuelan ultra-right.
De ultraderecha venezolana para ingresar unos 1,000 hombres
to send some 1,000 men to generate violence in the border states, attack the electoral service, and when they shot fraud on July 28th, and to generate the sensation of a civil war inside Venezuela.
In this context, President Maduro warned that Venezuela is in a struggle for its right to peace while stating that he would not allow anyone to affect the country.
Y aquí está el video que seguramente será conocido.
And here is a video that will surely be known. We're going to be pendant, so that is acknowledged in the news, and our people know that we are in a battle for right to peace, for the right to peace, the right to peace, and nobody is going to spoil Venezuela, I assure you.
Se los aseguro.
The Venezuelan president made the accusations after the Colombian paramilitary group known as Autodefensas Conquistadoras de la Sierra disclosed that the Venezuelan far-right seeks to destabilize Venezuelan society. Members of the paramilitary group said that among the requests made by the far-right was to target the power grid in order to create discomfort to the Venezuelan people. They also said members of the far-right asked them to infiltrate the streets, generating chaos in case President Nicolás Maduro were to be re-elected next July. The paramilitary group expressed its willingness to collaborate and contact Venezuelan diplomats to provide them with further details about the far-right's destabilization plans.
4th of July 2024. The Autodefensa Conquistadora de la Sierra allows us to inform the national and international public opinion that units shown in the Department of La Guajira have been contacted by extreme right groups in Venezuela to destabilize the government of the Republic Venezuela. The interlocutors have made all kinds of requests, among them to attack the Venezuelan electrical infrastructure, act against the candidate president Nicolás Maduro, act in case he is re-elected, infiltrating protests and generating in the streets in front of this chaos. We allow ourselves to state that our organization does not get involved in the internal affairs of other countries, that our organization is due and has a purpose to maintain order in the Sierra Nevada, that we will contact the diplomatic authorities of Venezuela to disclose details of the information disclosed attentively, Major State Autodefensa Conquistadora de la Sierra.
The Autodefensas Conquistadora de Sierra Nevada is a Colombian paramilitary structure that maintains territorial control in Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta in the department of Magdalena and other nearby areas. In a historical context, the criminal diaspora is a result of the demobilization of the United Self-Defense Forces of Colombia. This group runs drug trafficking and extortion networks in tourist areas. The ACSN operate autonomously in their logistical activities and in some cases have established alliances with criminal organizations to guarantee control over areas of route and transport of illicit substances to countries such as the United States and Europe. Recently, there have been cases of capture and participation of ACSN members demonstrating their continued involvement in illegal economies. However, in recent times, the organizations had shown a willingness to negotiate with the Colombian government, declaring a unilateral ceasefire in the hope of installing dialogues. Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSur English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Those stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Venezuela, there is an abundance of measurements on who could govern the country until 2031. A war of polls seeking to generate a matrix of opinion that influence the decisions.
Millions of Venezuelans will elect their next president in the near future, and studied voting intentions are multiplying ahead of the July 28th elections.
I don't believe in opinion polls, I believe in results.
In these surveys is doubtful. It is really not.
And the mistrust has its origin. At least one inquiry has been published every week since the election date was announced. But several of them, according to analysts, show a non-existent reality. They give the victory to the candidate of the ultra-right, however. Articles confirm that several of the polls disseminated in social networks turn out to be false, inaccurate, and misleading.
What we are seeing is the search to manage a climate in which the opposition has more opportunities than it really has. There is the issue of polls. There is the issue of the management of bots in social networks. We see how there are publications that exceed in the number of likes to the people who have access to social networks. And at the same time, there is a decrease in the coverage and presence of what the government has been doing in the framework of the election campaign.
Few media outlets replicate the fact that Nicolás Maduro, president and candidate for the governing party, is the favorite, surpassing a voting intention of 60%. The other 9 presidential candidates are 30 points behind.
There is a group of pollsters who are saying that there is no possible scenario in the country other than that a certain candidate wins, a candidate to end the opposition, and this of course is very risky because if it does not happen, it may tend to create more nervousness, more neurosis in society. The truth is that the ideal is that all political actors are ready to recognize these results. That it is simply a function of going to an electoral contest, not to generate parallel agendas or hidden agendas that lead to violence.
According to the indicators, the panorama shows that the triumph of el Chavismo is an undeniable possibility.
Whether the opposition is going to chant fraud or not, I wouldn't know. But I would think that there are some segments of the Torres opposition that will not be able to recognize a triumph of the Maduro government.
And there is a not minor fact. One of the recognized platforms in the world of politics and the market predicts that Nicolás Maduro is emerging as the winner with more than 70% of the votes.
Adriana Cibor y Jesús Romero, TeleSur.
In Iran, Masoud Pezeshkian is the new president after defeating Said Malili in a runoff election in the Persian nation. The Ministry of the Interior confirmed that Pezeshkian obtained 53.66% of the votes. Galili, his rival in the second round, won 44.34% of the votes in an election where 49.8% of the population voted. The supporters of the winner, who obtained 16.3 million votes, have taken to the streets of the country to celebrate the victory. Let's review the profile of Masoud Pezeshkian. Born in 1954, he has a PhD in medicine and general surgery from Tabriz University. He was appointed health minister from 2001 to 2005 during former President Khatami's term from 2016 to 2020. He served as first deputy speaker of parliament. He has previously run for the elections in 2013 and 2021. In 2013, he resigned in favor of Ayatollah Ali Akbar Hashemi Rafsanjani, while in 2021, the Guardian Council didn't pass him as candidate. And France prepares for next Sunday's elections to decide how the National Assembly will be formed. In this context, the advance of the far right has made more than 200 candidates withdraw their mandate to create a Republican cordon to stop Marine Le Pen at the polls. More details with our special envoy in Paris.
France prepares for the second round of the most important legislative elections in decades. Young people fight street by street to stop a far-right majority in France.
We are now distributing flyers in the streets because we believe that it is very important that everybody goes to vote, because we don't want the national rally to become prime minister, nor to have a majority in the assembly. That's why we believe that we have to go to vote and mobilize the people to go to the voting day. That's why we are here in the street giving out the flyers in the center of Paris, but also in the different constituencies.
Fabio is a young Parisian artist of immigrant origin. He follows the rise of the far right in France with great concern, but what is clear to him is that Emmanuel Macron's mandate has come to an end.
Of course. For me, his presidency is over. His party obtained a minority. It is true that there is no absolute majority, but to obtain two minorities does not give him a choice, because he would be behind the extreme right and the left forces. That's why he is blocked, because he has no choice but to collaborate with the left.
More than 200 candidates have withdrawn their candidacy to stop a far-right majority that the new Popular Front is trying to stop at the ballot box with the historical agreement of the French left.
Emmanuel Macron wanted to take the left for a ride, but they managed to reach a historic agreement in 24 hours. Many thought that there was a lot of difference, hatred, resentment, but in a context like this, there was only one possibility: that all the progressive forces and all the forces that call themselves leftists agreed on a common program and dared to lead it so that the extreme right could not come to power and that a progressive government could finally succeed in France.
The Place de la République is once again the anti-fascist symbol in France, symbol of the Republican agreement against the advance of the ultra-conservatives at the ballot box. A Republican cordon of parties, both left and center-right, to prevent Marine Le Pen's ultra-right from gaining power is the response of the political parties in France for the second round of the legislative elections next Sunday.
Sergio Rodrigo y Javier Díaz Muriana, TeleSur, París.
Ecuador's former Vice President Jorge Glass attorney Sonia Vera denounced that prison authorities are preventing her from communicating with her clients. Ms. Sonia Vera, who is an international lawyer, has denounced that since June 21st, La Roca prison warden Ms. Martha Macias, as well as authorities from the National Service to Inmates, are preventing her from meeting with her client, therefore hindering Mr. Glass's right to a defense. Ms. Vera has called the attention of the international community to what she considers the kidnap of Mr. Glass after 3 months of arbitrary detention. Jorge Glass was arrested and sent to La Roca prison early April following a raid of the Mexican embassy in Quito by Ecuadorian police. Mr. Glass had sought refuge at the Mexican embassy, where he had been granted political asylum. A Buenos Aires court in Argentina has recognized the victims who appealed to the principle of universal justice and filed a complaint against former Colombian President Álvaro Uribe. The court ruling followed a lawsuit filed by 11 victims on November 7, 2023, before federal judges to investigate the former Colombian president for cases of extrajudicial executions. The victims claimed that they had to resort to Argentinian courts as no mechanisms were found in Colombia to carry out the investigation. The principle of universal jurisdiction allows victims to go to justice institutions in other countries to investigate those allegedly responsible for a crime. We have a short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Final break. Don't go. Welcome back. Israeli occupation forces killed at least 29 Palestinians in 3 massacres during the last 24 hours in the Gaza Strip. The health ministry reported the Zionist attacks in over 100 people. Authorities warned that many victims remain under the rubble and constant Israeli bombardments, alerting to the possibility that both figures could be even higher. According to the latest report, 38,098 Palestinians have been killed and over 87,705 have been wounded since October 2023. In this context, the Palestinian Health Ministry called on the international community to stop Israel's war campaign in the occupied territories. Authorities also called on humanitarian organizations to exert pressure on the Tel Aviv regime to stop its attacks on medical centers. Rescue groups and ambulances in the Gaza Strip, only 15 out of 36 hospitals are currently operating in the Gaza Strip amid severe shortages of staff and supplies. In Palestine, authorities denounced a water crisis in the occupied West Bank due to Israeli cuts to water supplies. The Palestinian Water Authority pointed out that water consumption is rising in the midst of rising summer temperatures, while denouncing that the amount of water available for Palestinians in the West Bank amounts to 105 million cubic meters, 13 million less than what was agreed upon in the 1995 Oslo Accords. The Colonization and War Resistance Commission denounced that Israeli authorities control 88% of water sources in the West Bank and allow settlers to have free and unimpeded access to the vital liquid. Russian President Vladimir Putin received Friday the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban. The main issue of both leaders' agenda was finding a solution to the conflict with Ukraine. During a joint press conference following the closed-door meeting, the Hungarian Prime Minister admitted that Moscow's and Kiev's positions remain very far apart, citing his recent trip to Kiev to meet the Ukrainian leadership. However, he recognized that starting the contacts was the most important step and promised he will continue to work on that direction. On the other hand, the Russian president reiterated Moscow's readiness to resolve the conflict through negotiations, but warned that the Ukrainian leadership seemed to be still incapable of abandoning its idea of waging a war until the end.
Russia favors a full and final end to the conflict. The conditions for that, as I said, are set out in my speech at the Foreign Ministry. We are talking about the total withdrawal of all Ukrainian troops from the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics, from the Zaporizhia and Kherson regions. And Ukraine sponsors continue to try to use the country and its people as a battering ram, sacrificed in the confrontation with Russia. As we see the state of affairs, taking into account what we heard today from Mr. Prime Minister, Kiev is still not ready to abandon the idea of waging a war to a victorious end.
I have found that positions are far apart. The number of steps needed to end the war and bring about peace are many and high. But in terms of dialogue and restoring dialogue, the first important step has been taken today, and I will continue this work.
In Niger, the government has revoked a uranium exploration permit granted to Canadian company GoVX Uranium. The mining company executive denounced the permit withdrawal for the Maduro area does not comply with the provisions of the current mining code, and they warned that the decision will have a negative impact for the local economy. Company executive recalled that since the start of operations in Niger in 2007, they have completed an unprecedented drilling campaign of 650,000 meters for Nigerians themselves. The project meant the creation of up to 800 jobs over the foreseeable 20-year lifespan of the mine, with significant royalties and taxes accruing to the states. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.